All right, what's up, everyone? This is the Osmo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. Another four-game slate in the endless streak of four-game slates. Had some good ones last night, some good games, that is. If you stayed up to watch the Avs, hopefully you had a lot of them. Because if you did not, that was probably not a very fun game to watch. So that was the game I watched all of. The early games, caught some of. Ian Cole killed me, which I was pretty tilted about last night. I usually try not to tilt, but I felt like I had a really, really good chance to take down the $10. Was in first for a while, had Rantanen. No one that close to me had Rantanen. But ultimately ended up in like seventh because Cole and it wasn't even Tyson Barrie. I would have loved getting beat by my boy Tyson Barrie, but yeah, Cole and Eric Johnson killed me. Even though I did like Johnson a little bit, they both had huge games, so that was a little bit frustrating. But that's all right. I just didn't run good last night, and I think I have run good when I've been in contention to bank. So all good. Hopefully you guys had success. Seemed like, again, a bunch of people in the Slack did have success. Same tournaments basically as last night from what I've seen. Didn't really see anything different. They're doing the 183 max. I know some people will like that a little bit of a flatter payout and such. I don't think I'm gonna play that, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See how good I feel about my lineups. Right now I feel pretty good about the slate, so you never know. Sometimes I just shovel money in 2 minutes before lock if anything's not close to filling. We're gonna move this over here so I can kind of refer to what I have so far on my crunches. I saw some people in chat, on YouTube chat, talking about Vegas 2. Yep, definitely gonna be a Vegas 2 night. It's gonna be basically an everything night for me. I've got 141 lineups to mess around with. Oh, that's awesome, Tyler. Came 11th in the $10 on DK with only 3 lineups. That's pretty tough to do. So, awesome job. You should be proud of that. Hopefully made some nice profit despite the top-heavy payout. I think 11th, you probably got a couple $100 out of that, right? Should be a lot more, but 16% rake will do that. Really, only $80 for 11th? That's crazy. Nice, Matthew. Been winning good money every night. Came in first in a few contests this week on FanDuel. Nice. I haven't played on FanDuel much. That's where Homer Cleese Goat plays a lot, so I try to stay away from wherever he's at. Don't want him stealing all my money. Yeah, so the thing with that, Tyler, is just, I don't know, hopefully you had those lineups in other contests, but if you didn't, maybe you want to 3 max in other contests just because it's so hard to get a top 3 in those big tournaments. So that's all right. Tonight, again, 4 games. Bring out the brooms tonight. Ryan says, could be. If I had to bet, I mean, so Alex's rankings are not updated. I think he updated the ones from yesterday on accident for today. I'm sure he'll go back and fix that at some point. Maybe even some point during the show, so we will get some rankings to refer to from him. If not, it's a premium feature anyways. This is a free show, so I don't feel that bad for you guys if you don't get the rankings on the screen one day. If you are just a YouTube freeloader, and if you are, feel free to give us a like on not only this video but all our videos because it does help us out. But anyways, I still think that Tampa is overpriced as far as the Vegas odds go. Like, let's see what they're at right now. Because they were, like, favored by a half goal. Is that right? Yeah, I mean, 0.4 goals right now they're favored by. 3.2 implied total for them. 2.8 for the Blue Jackets. Why? What about Tampa? This series has... Man. What have people seen to suggest that they're going to come back, or they should be favored in Columbus? Columbus has been the better team outside of the first period of the first game. So that's what I think. If I was betting this game, I would not bet on Tampa. Columbus is going to try to close it out tonight, obviously, but they really want to close this out and sweep. From just reading what the beats are saying, they do not want to go back, and all of a sudden you play Game 5 in Tampa, and then what? They win that, then you got the pressure back on in Game 6. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, the Jackets have been playing so well. So well. Tampa Bay can't handle the physicality of the Jackets either. Helps they had to fight for their playoff lives the last month. Yeah, I mean, you see that in a bunch of different sports. Team comes in hot. They get in barely to the playoffs, and then usually it's more in like March Madness and NFL, where it's single elimination. Anything can happen in one game. You don't often see that. Like in NBA, you'll basically never see an 8 seed defeat a 1 seed outside of a few outliers here and there. But yeah, man, Columbus was up 2-0 last year, right, against Washington. So they know what it's like to be up and choke away a series. JR, yeah, I do think that Bobrovsky is a bargain regardless. All right, so let's do these games. And then we'll talk just strategy as we go. Per usual, if anybody's got any questions, feel free to pop them in chat. If you don't have questions, just sit back and watch me fawn over some of these lines with really good numbers. All right, so again, Tampa 3.2 implied total, Columbus 2.8, Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky in net. We have new Tampa lines, Cirelli skating with Stamkos and the formerly suspended Nikita Kucherov. He is back after serving his 1 game. Hope he was happy with himself after the cheap shot. Honestly, pretty lucky he only got 1 game. But we've got this new top line for Tampa. I think they're going to be pretty heavily owned. I think heavier owned than they should be. We don't have any data on them, number one. Stamkos and Kucherov together always get people on them, which is understandable. They're 2 really, really good players. They've got a $400 line mate. That makes it pretty easy to stack in tournaments. They're under 19K. And people like Cirelli. I mean, I like Cirelli. Plus, you get Stamkos and Kucherov on the power play. The problem is Columbus is just playing so well right now. So I think I'm going to be higher on the Point, Palat, and Johnson line. They had really, really good numbers in the last game. This is kind of the first time all year we've seen Point without Kucherov when they're both in the lineup. So kind of weird. I think people will avoid the Point line. But they had almost 20 shot attempts in the last game. Bunch of scoring chances, bunch of high danger chances. I would assume they're going to get the easier of the 2 matchups. Columbus doesn't really hard match anyways, so maybe that doesn't really matter. But their price is not going to get anybody super excited about them. And whereas I think Tampa 1's price will get people really excited. And, there's the narrative, again, they have to win this game. We've seen it twice in a row. Tampa has to win a game, and they don't win a game. So if they're going to be heavily owned again, yeah, I'm just not going to Tampa. And I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Are they going to be heavily owned again? Because I think they are. People think Tampa is going to win here, and obviously Vegas favors them. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be pretty close. If any team can come back down 3-0, it's Tampa. Yeah, I mean, they're a really, really good team. But down 3-0, winning 4 in a row against a team that's looked this good is it's really, really, really tough. And like I said, there's nothing to suggest to me that Tampa's been the better team outside of the first period of the first game. Since then, it's been basically all Columbus for me. Pretty convincing fashion, too. Like, the last game was 2-1 or whatever, but it was 2-0, and Columbus was carrying play, and I think the right team won Game 3 as well, so I don't know. Should be exciting. We will see if Columbus can close it out tonight. So that's kind of what I got on the Tampa side. I don't think I'm going any lower than the point line, but I do like them quite a bit just based on what they did in one game. The short sample is better than no sample, right? So can't read into it, but just looking at ownership or projected ownership here in my head, I'm more likely to be over the weight on Tampa 2. On the Blue Jackets side, for me, it's going to be the let me see. Let me make sure I'm correct here. Yeah, Dubois line. I have a little bit higher than the Duchesne line. It's more of just a price thing. I like Bjorkstrand and Dubois at their prices, and then Panarin, I think, obviously is underpriced at $6,200. I'm not scared about targeting against Tampa. It's worked the first few games. It's, I think, been an okay strategy. Tampa on the road this year. At home, they've been much, much tougher. Duchesne's playing lights out, though, so you can make a case for the second line. You could probably even make a case for the third line for the Blue Jackets. I'm just not really getting to the second and third lines here. I think this is going to be a pretty tight game. Would be surprised if there's a ton of scoring here. Like a 7-8 goal performance or something. And I mean total goals, not 7 or 8 goals for one of these teams, obviously. I would be surprised that happens to anyone outside of maybe Vegas tonight. Stone, Pacioretty, and Stastny would be 400% owned, so I'm not worried about ownership on any other line. They'll be owned, and they might be the highest owned line of the night, but I still think Tampa is going to be right up there, Tampa 1. I'd rather play chalk Vegas 2 than chalk Tampa 1 if it's going to be even close. And I think it's going to be pretty close. So whether it's 5, 10%, give me some Vegas 2. I'll differentiate there. I think they've been maybe the best line in the playoffs, possibly, just off the top of my head. But yeah, I think we all agree Vegas 2 is going to be chalky. We'll get there in a bit, though. Sergachev, top power play, 4,500. If you are going to Tampa 1, that's your guy. Very clearly, McDonough back on the power play with no Hedman. That's also that's huge for them. They don't have Hedman, so that's another thing. How are they a half goal favorite, almost a half goal favorite here on the road, down 3-0? I just don't understand it. So if Tampa wins, I mean, great. I still don't think they should be this heavily favored based on what we've seen these last few games. So again, I'll stop talking about Tampa. Sergachev's your guy if you're going to Tampa 1 and maybe even Tampa 2, but McDonough, he is the guy for like the block shots, the shot attempts. I mean, when he's playing on the power play, he's not on the top unit, so it's a little bit tough to want to get to a bunch of him at 4,600. On the other side, it's Werenski and Jones, the power play guys. I think you can go Jones and Werenski with either one of these two lines. That's who they're going to be skating the most with, is the Duchesne line and the Dubois lines. So regardless of the power play tags here, I think you can probably play either one with either line, and even the third line as well. All right, that's good for that one. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Islanders, Penguins. Let's see the implied totals here. We have, looks like 3.1 to Pittsburgh, and then 2.4 for the Islanders. Another series down 3-0. So before 10 Eastern tonight, we could have 2 teams eliminated, and all of a sudden we've got a 2-game slate. So that is sad. This first round of the playoffs for DFS has been really fun. Hopefully it's been profitable for you. Thoughts on goalies for here? Yeah, it's just, I think Bobrovsky's underpriced. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully. Like, I want these series to continue because I want to have bigger slates for the next, week. But I don't know. I think Pittsburgh's more likely to win than Tampa tonight. And they are, according to Vegas, but yeah. I'm playing more Pittsburgh stacks, I'll say that as well. Leonard, Murray in net, what we've seen all series. The Penguins did something weird last game. I didn't watch the game, but it looks like they didn't hard match Crosby against Barzal, Lee, and Eberle. I don't understand that at all. Crosby's been a good shutdown center, and when he'd been playing with Simone and Gensel, they had really, really, really awesome numbers. So why wouldn't you stick that line on the Islanders' best line? I have no idea why they didn't do that. They lost. Maybe they do that tonight. But it was just kind of a weird thing to see. I thought it was kind of a foregone conclusion that they would just go strength against strength and try to have the Crosby line limit Barzal, Lee, and Eberle, but they did not. And they paid for it. Both, I think, Barzal and Lee scored. I know Anders Lee scored. I don't know if one of the other 2 guys did, but the line had really good numbers. 16 shot attempts to 8 shot attempts when they were on the ice. Bunch of scoring chances as well. So I don't know. It depends what Pittsburgh does here, but I still am going heavily on Islanders 1 on that side. And it's mostly because I don't really love any of the other 3 lines. The identity line or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I don't think you need to get that cute. Maybe if Beauvillier was up in a top 6 role, I would have more interest in the second line. Kuhnhackl, no thanks really for Kuhnhackl and Nelson and Bailey. So Hornqvist was the sneaky GBP play, priced between Laine, Eberle, Bjorkstrand until they moved him off the top PP and on third line. I don't have a problem with Hornqvist not being on the third line. Or I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with him being on the third line, honestly. So we're getting to Pittsburgh right now. I really, really like Pittsburgh. It looks like just based on stack volume for teams, it looks like they're going to be probably my highest exposed team because I think I'm going to be pretty heavy on all 3 of these lines. And it's going to go most likely in this order: Malkin, then the Crosby line, just above the Bukestad line. So just based on the lines I'm going to be most overweight on, it's going to be Pitt 3 and then Pitt 2 probably. I'm going to be closer to the field on the Crosby line. So kind of all over the place on Pittsburgh, but I just think they're priced really, really, really well. So they make my lineups obviously look very good with McCann at 3,500. You've got Rust at 3,600. He's the guy I probably won't leave off of too many of my lineups. And then I'm just going to play the full Pitt 3. They're all on the second power play, and you'd rather... I don't think the second power play matters that much for a team like Pittsburgh because they've got such a stacked top unit. So it hurts Hornqvist a little bit, but he's still under 5K. That line does have really, really good numbers, this third line for Pittsburgh. And then they're going to get like the best matchups here against the second, third, and fourth lines for the Islanders. So, yeah, I'm kind of all over Pitt 3. Yeah, Malkin and Kessel are good together. They're not good defensively, so I hope they see more of the Barzal line because I think this one could be a little bit of a sneaky shootout possibly, assuming that Barzal, Lee, Eberle line can get it done because I think that's where the majority of their scoring is going to come from if they can score goals tonight. All right. Okay. Like I said, I don't know exactly how matchups are going to go here. Based on what Pittsburgh did, it was a weird thing they did. I would think they could adjust and just go Crosby versus Barzal, Lee, and Eberle. I just don't know if they're smart enough to do that. So, that being said, still really heavy on the Barzal line. Polak, Leddy, Tays. For me, it's just going to be a sprinkle of both. Of all three. Leddy priced at a spot where I think I'm okay using him, 3,300. Same thing with Tays, and then Polak, I'll use him in one-off scenarios for 4,900 because he doesn't correlate really well to really any line that I want to play on the Islanders. At least he hasn't tomahawked his stick in anyone's face yet. I'm assuming you're talking about Malkin. Yeah, he has a propensity to do that. It's amazing how a stick finds people's faces. Same thing with Kadri. Same thing with Kucherov, apparently. And Joe Thornton's shoulder tends to find people's faces. All right. So, Letang at 6,300. You guys probably know my take here. I think he grades out really well from a raw points perspective. The issue is he's not the only expensive defenseman that you need to pay up for tonight, or that you can pay up for tonight. There's Carlson, Burns, Pietrangelo, Bufflin. Was there anyone in the last game? Maybe like Seth Jones as well. So there's just a lot of guys in this area. So I do have like 20% Letang. So I think I'll probably be a little overweight on him, which I'm usually not at this price. But he does grade out really, really well for me. So I'm assuming in Alex's rankings, he's probably a B or maybe even an A value. Because I do love all these Pittsburgh lines. I think he is the easiest guy to correlate with, especially with the top two, if you can fit him in. And then Pettersson, I'm going to kind of as a punt. I don't love it, but he's just 2,500. He plays 17, 18, 19 minutes per night. And that's kind of hard to pass up when you're just looking for a single value defenseman that can get you anything. He played 19 minutes last game, had an assist. He doesn't really do much in terms of shots on goal or anything like that, but it's either him or like Jack Johnson or Goodbranson. I mean, Goodbranson scored last game. It was just perfect. Just amazing stuff. He's not good, but he did score. Or no, that was 2 games ago. Sorry. That was maybe last Thursday or Friday. Leonard, 3 goals saved above average through 3 games. Really? Well, they needed great goaltending out of Leonard to try to advance, and he just needs to be great one more game out of 4. So we shall see. I don't know if we're just doing predictions. I think Pittsburgh wins this game. If Leonard does win, though, somehow at 7,400, he's very likely, or a very good chance to be the nut goalie at 7,400 because he has been playing well. And if he can hold them to 2 goals or somehow less, he's going to see a ton of shot volume in the second and third periods, especially if the Islanders jump out to an early 1-0 or even 2-0 lead. He's just going to get absolutely peppered. You just hope that for his sake it's not a lot on the power play, because then any goalie could be in trouble against this Pitt power play. All right, Jets and the Blues. We have Connor Hellebuck and Jordan Binnington in their respective cages. Looking at the implied totals here, we've got 3 to the Blues and 2.5 to the Jets. Pretty standard for the series. Low implied totals. We saw that it went way over last game. I think it was 6-2 or 6-3. There's a lot of talent on both sides of this game. So you saw Binnington be really shaky at times last game. Outside of that first period, he was incredible in the first period. He kept him in the game and then just kind of broke down. St. Louis played terribly in Game 3, I thought. Just from a my eyes standpoint, I watched basically the whole game, and I didn't think St. Louis 1 looked that good. And then I looked at the numbers, and they weren't. I mean, they were kind of even in Corsi for, Corsi against. They gave up a bunch of scoring chances, which is unlike them. And they were mostly against Scheifele, Connor, and Wheeler. So that's going to be the same thing tonight. They're going to see a ton of time against them, I would imagine. For me, I still give the edge to St. Louis 1 in that matchup. I think they should rebound here. And I've been on them all 3 games so far. It has not worked out, but I am right back on them again. I am right back on St. Louis 2. That line has very solid numbers. I think they can handle Little, Ehlers, and line A. Same thing with the third line, Perreault, Hayes, and Roslovic. And then once again, I think St. Louis 3 should be at least in the conversation for lines you're considering tonight if you're making more than a handful of lineups. Bozak, Maroon, and Robert Thomas, that is, all on the second power play. They're playing their power plays pretty even as well, which is kind of frustrating to watch when you're playing a bunch of St. Louis top-line guys, and Pietrangelo and such. But yeah, I guess they must like Vince Dunn's unit. So while I said the PP2 tags maybe don't matter for a team like Pitt that much, they matter more, I guess, to St. Louis. So super cheap and all in the second power play. I think you can certainly play this St. Louis 3 line. On the Jets side, I think it was smart. They went back to Ehlers, Line A, and Little together. That line is super, super, super cheap. I need to see where I was at on them. Because I kind of know what they are at this point. They've played together a bunch over the past couple years. Yeah, I got to, 4 shares, 3% of them in my last crunch. And that's not final. It might come up to 5, 6, 7 shares possibly. But they're not going to be a line I'm super heavy on. People think Line is back, and maybe he is. But I've got a bigger sample on him that says that he's not great chalk, I don't think, if he's going to be popular at 5K, which I'm assuming he's going to be. Scored 2 out of 3 games in this series. So people tend to follow that. Zig while they zag. I don't think it's that great of a line. Winnipeg 2, I think they're going to have tough matchups regardless of who they go up against, whether it's St. Louis 1, 2, or 3. So all that kind of gets me to me not being crazy about. Did you guys hear that? Car alarm going outside my house? Me going underweight, I think, on basically all 3 of these Winnipeg lines. I'm heavy on St. Louis, especially heavy on the top 2 lines, and then going to have shares of that third line. All right. Defenseman here, I mentioned I really like Pietrangelo. Has Line A scored in all 3? Oh, yeah, even better. St. Louis should win this game, I think. St. Louis should win this series. I think they're the better team by a good margin, but you wouldn't know it by last game. So maybe Winnipeg can flip the switch and turn it on. I still think St. Louis gets it done. You guys could hear that? Yeah. I don't know what's going on out there. Pietrangelo is kind of one of my spend-up guys tonight at 6K. Winnipeg does commit a lot of penalties. 6K for Pietrangelo. He's been pretty quiet, but he's the guy who correlates the best to St. Louis 1. I will play some Vince Dunn as well. Like I mentioned, I noticed that St. Louis power play 2 was getting a bunch of time in the last game. And Dunn is only 4K. Playing with Pietrangelo is a big help to his value. Those extra minutes are huge for him. He only had 17 last game. It felt like he was... Oh, maybe... I don't know if he kills penalties. It felt like he was on the ice all the time, but 17 minutes last game. 18 the game before that, 17, 19. So it's better than when he was getting like 13, 14 earlier this season. So Byfuglien, I noticed he was very aggressive last game. He had like 7 or 8 shot attempts, I believe, maybe even 9 or 10. 5,700 for him. He's not going to be super popular, but he is a guy that I'm playing a little bit of. And same thing with Tyler Myers for 3,400. I think he's okay. Obviously not crazy about playing Tyler Myers, but it's a good price for him. He's on the third pairing, so maybe he doesn't get a lot of attention, but he probably will flirt with 19 or 20 minutes tonight and the PP2 time as well. Like I said, I think St. Louis wins this game. I really think they do. Hopefully take a commanding 3-1 lead. We will see. Last game of the night. I think I fixed the settings here, so I think you guys can probably see Colin Miller and John Merrill down here. Maybe not. Let me correct this even more. I think you guys maybe can see that. No, I don't know. Whatever. If you can't, my bad. Yeah. Whatever. It's Colin Miller and John Merrill down there. It's not super exciting, although I am playing some Miller. So anyways, we have my, I think it's been my favorite series so far. It's just been a lot of good, entertaining hockey the first 3 games. So what we have here is a huge total for Vegas, 3.7. That's about as high as you're going to see for a playoff game when you're not Tampa in game 1 or game 2 against Columbus. So 3.7, one of the highest we'll see all playoffs. 2.9 for the Sharks. I mean, I keep saying it, and I keep talking about how bad Martin Jones is and how Fleury versus Jones is their biggest edge. But I still think Vegas they shouldn't be almost like 0.8 goals of a favorite here. You look at last game, and they capitalized on all their chances. Jones was terrible. A bunch of those goals were his fault. And some of them weren't. Like, when Stone gets in alone, he's going to finish shots more often than not. Stone was 3 for 3. He scored 3 goals on 3 shots. Vegas 2, great numbers. They scored all 6 goals. That line just dominated offensively. Defensively, they weren't that impressive, which I was kind of shocked to see. Kind of sneaky average defensively, that line was in that game. So the line that was more dominant, I suppose, if you want to call it that, is the Vegas 1 line. 12 shot attempts for, 5 against, 6 scoring chances for, 3 against, 4 high danger chances for, 1 against. And obviously super small sample. It's just 1 game. But like, if you saw these numbers compared to Vegas 2, 10 Corsi for, 10 Corsi against, they had 7 to 6 shots against, 7 to 4 scoring chances against, 4 to 3 high danger chances against. Like, I don't know. Vegas 1 was just fine here. And I think Vegas, like, again, you zig while they zag. Like, I think Vegas 2 is going to be super popular here. I think for good reason. They are a very, very good play. They are, they're fantastic. Like I said, I think they're arguably the top line of the entire playoffs so far in this few game span. I think Vegas 1 is also really, really awesome. The price for Vegas 1 has kind of gotten out of hand. Maybe that'll even out the ownership a little bit, but Vegas 1 should not be, 16-2. That's outrageous. And I think the ownership for these 2 lines should be really close. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think we might see Vegas 2 at 27-30%. And if we see Vegas 1 at 15% or even 18%, I think that's a big win right there. Or if you want to play them both, you play them both. All that being said, I think Vegas 1 and Vegas 2 and even Vegas 3 are all perfectly fine plays. I don't think the Sharks should be this big of an underdog in this game. Martin Jones, he has good performances in him every once in a while. but will it be tonight? I have no idea. He just needs to be somewhere closer to average. I think Carlson possibly is playing hurt. Maybe that has to do with the total. I'm not exactly sure. But just from looking at the numbers from watching the games, yeah, the last one got out of hand for sure. But let's not forget, I think the Sharks had a 5-2 win game 1 as well. I think Vegas ends up advancing. But for this game, I think we're going to see a ton of ownership on Vegas, a lot of ownership on Fleury, and the Sharks switched up their lines. So you've got Couture, Meyer, and LeBanc. I really, really like that line. This line, you've got 3 wingers, and that's fine for me because I don't really want to play a ton of this line anyways. I'd rather play like Pavelski, Nyquist, one-offs, or two-mans, or just go to San Jose 2. It's really the second line. This line has very, very good possession numbers over, I think, around 14 high danger chances for per 60, well over 60 shot attempts and all that good stuff. They haven't played together in this series. They haven't played together in probably over a month or so. They are really, 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 really good offensively. So I think there are a lot of options on the Sharks. I think the Sharks are going to go under-owned. As far as my ownerships, my exposures, it's going to be a lot of San Jose 1. I like that you get LeBanc with Couture on the top power play. You could play Burns or Carlson with that line. You could play Burns or Carlson with this line as well. Or Pavelski or Nyquist, honestly. They're all going to skate a ton together. No Vlasic. And yeah, they have Tim Heed listed on the second power play. I would not pay attention to that. I would be surprised if he sees much power play time, if any at all. It's going to be Burns and Carlson's trading off. They're going to play 27, 28 minutes. I don't know, man. I just think the hate's gone a little too far on the Sharks here. So it's not like I'm all in on Sharks, but I am going to be pretty heavy on the Hurdle line. I am going to be pretty heavy on the Couture line. So hopefully we see another shootout. I'd love a shootout. I'm not super comfortable playing Martin Jones. I will imagine, just based on the San Jose I play and the San Jose stacks I play, and based on there only being 8 goalies to play, that I probably end up over the field on Martin Jones. If I had to guess, I think he probably lets in another 3 or 4 goals, but that doesn't mean that San Jose can't score either. So I'm hoping for a shootout. See column 80. Is there a video that helps load Osimo your projections? NHL MLB. You just want to load my projections onto Fantasy Cruncher? You don't know how to do that? Is that what you're asking? See column? I can show you how to do that very quickly right now if you need. Onto Fantasy Cruncher. All right, let me finish this game quick, and then we'll do that quick. Okay, so Burns, Carlson. I'm probably going to have more Carlson tonight than Burns. It'll be pretty close. Just a price thing for Carlson. He says he's okay. I don't really think he is. Oh, okay. Show how to add a column for Osmo's grades. Got it. I can do that as well. I don't really think Carlson is super healthy, but even 85 or 90% Carlson in terms of health, 85 or 90% health for Carlson is better than a lot of other $6,200 defenders that we've seen. And then I'm right back on Theodore, 5,200. He is, I think, a stud in the making, if not already a stud. So I'm all over him at 52. Yeah, I think Jones is going to be possibly the lowest owned goalie tonight. Maybe he's not healthy, or maybe he's healthy, he's just not conditioned. You could be right about that, Ryan. Again, I like Vegas. I think they're great. In terms of leverage on the field, I'm probably going to be higher on Vegas 1. It's going to be pretty split for Vegas 2 and Vegas 1 for me. But again, I just think Vegas 1 is going to be lower owned. they're lower priced. I get a lot of really good lineups, projected lineups when I play them. You can game stack. You can force it in. You don't have to force it in. This one could get a little bit wild, I think, once again. So, okay, we want to add a column to Fantasy Cruncher. Okay, so Fantasy Cruncher, you guys can get the add-on with your premium Osmo.com NHL subscription for next year or for this year if you want to try it out. Promo code Hit the Ice gets you 50% off your first month of Osmo.com Premium. We also have it for other sports. Here are my cheat sheets today. These are free. I will post this link in chat if you want to see these. Oh, Colin Miller. I did list him. I don't have a lot of guys below like the $4,500 range for defensemen, as I usually don't. But if you want to upload projections onto Fantasy Cruncher, first of all, you're going to go to Fantasy Cruncher. We'll go to DraftKings just because that's where I play for the most part. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Theodore not shooting at all. 1 shot on goal in 3 games. Yeah, he had like 6 shot attempts last game. So I worry more about shot attempts. I think there are going to be shot attempts to go around. Hopefully some of them go on goal. And I think the assist equity is also there. I think he's really, really talented. Anyways, if you want to upload data, you go to this column, or this tab right here, upload data tab. Now here you have the player name, projections. What you're gonna do if you have a premium Osmo.com subscription, you get access to my projections, Osmo's rankings. I think he updated them for today. Yeah, he did. Okay. And what you need to do, if you wanted to add a column, what you could do, well, actually, let me go to the projections first, and then we'll talk about adding a column. I think the easiest way to do this, to upload projections, if you just want the points, you will go to columns, and then you can eliminate columns. So right now I'm eliminating a bunch of other columns that I don't need to upload to Fantasy Cruncher. So now I've got everything eliminated besides the player and the points. We have a copy function up here. You can just click on that, copy. You can go back to your Fantasy Cruncher page, upload data where we were just at. Control V or whatever it is. There's directions down here. Shout out to Dave at Fantasy Cruncher. He knows. Control V, Command V, whether you have Windows or Mac. Upload data. I don't think Vlasic's playing. Is he technically a game time decision? Anyways, got this right here. Now you've got all my projections in. The green just means that the projection's higher than what Fantasy Cruncher has projected. The red means it's lower. So you see Fantasy Cruncher very high on Kucherov. A lot of projection systems are probably higher than me on Kucherov. That is okay. Got to be different somehow. If you wanted to, let's say you wanted to add Alex's rankings on here. There's a link right here to add and remove a column, add or remove a column. What you want to do, you can just go rank. So you can add it. You see it appears right here. What you would do, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 open columns. Let's clear all this first. And where are we at here? Osmo's NHL rankings. We have, oh, we don't have the columns feature for this. So what you would have to do is download this to Excel. Yeah, I think that'd probably be the easiest way to do it. And then just you would go to Excel. It would open up a tab for you just like this in Excel. It would open up a sheet just like this. You would just copy this column onto the player name tab right here, and then you would do the same thing right here for the ranking. It would upload, and then you would just have to refresh the page in order to have that rankings show right here, if that makes sense. What if I just play Vegas top 6 with every goalie and whatever D I can fit? You could do that. I don't know that that's necessary tonight. I'll probably have a couple Vegas 6-man stacks. By the way, if you guys do have Fantasy Cruncher, again, there's some issues going on with the probable goalies, so you got to manually deselect some of these guys. So anyone that's projected will come up, so just be careful of that. So make sure it's only guys that are playing confirmed or the ones that I have projected. Those are going to be your probable goalies. All right. Baseball tonight. I am not on the show, but Josh and Chris will be doing the live before lock show. I will be on tomorrow doing some more MLB. I believe we've got another 4-game, maybe a 3-game NHL slate tomorrow. But however many games it is, we will still be streaming, talking through each one. Okay, there's only 3 tomorrow, but that's okay. We'll still stream, probably until it gets to just 2-game slates. We will stop at that point and just rely on Slack and cheat sheets and stuff like that. So if you got any other questions about Fantasy Crunch or whatever, feel free to hit me up in the Slack chat. I'll be around making MLB lineups, watching the deeper dive and such. Another good sports night. So watch the games, tilt in premium chat with us. That's what chat is for. Good luck tonight, guys, and I will see you tomorrow.